Hello, welcome back to another video. And today we're going to continue the series of doing exponentially more work for the same, very similar results. Not the same, but very similar. Last time we did exponentially more work just for Euro turn signals. And today we're just going to do exponentially more work to pretty much turn the OEM exhaust valve control into an actual valve controller. Some of you who watched my previous video about the VSC valve controller would know, I thought you already installed one. Yes, I did. This was the original VSC valve controller that I installed in the car. Works decently well. But recently got some new exhaust installed, and while we're installing it, of course, we're transferring over the old valve controller motors and everything. They're all OEM, just to reuse. And as we're plugged in, we realized, only the driver's side valve controller is working with the remote, but the passenger side isn't. After some more discovery, turns out that not this side, this side. So the connector that plugs in, that pretty much intercepts does like a man in the middle with, and intercepts the valve controller on the passenger side, corroded. So yeah, so that's why we're not getting signal. It's kind of awkward because sometimes I verified this because I plugged both. Apparently, if you disconnect the left side, the right side works perfectly fine, but the moment you connect both sides, neither one of them will work. So it looks like something's going out with the passenger side and it's like shorting or causing some sort of malfunction. So what are we going to do now? So of course I did my usual, went to AliExpress, browsed Chinese TikTok. Actually, they have a big tuner culture on there. They display all their mods on Chinese. Apparently they love the M4 on there. So I found this company, OEM Motors. So I don't know how to pronounce them, but pretty much their whole thing is they take this button, intercept the CAN signals. So CAN signals, it controls all the ECUs in the car. That's how they communicate with each other. It intercepts that, so it knows whether or not the valve button is on or off, OEM, and it will manually control the valves in the exhaust. And all it is here is, upside down, but just this little module. Probably you see right there, focus. But pretty much it says plug in the motors here, the CAN signals here, and the power to the fuse box. And just all the OEM wiring. So their selling point is no cutting, nothing. We just it's a plug and play system. Now, unlike the VSC valve controller, that just sits in the back. I plug in one on each side of the valve controller and that was done. Probably took like 20 minutes, even less. Probably like 5 now that I've done it a few times. Probably only like 5 minutes to install. Really easy. Knowing me, just to go for that OEM plus vibe, I have to make my life harder. This requires taking apart this center trim here, just to intercept the CAN wire going into this controller, iDrive controller, and figure out how am I going to route that wire to the trunk. Like, yeah, I don't even know if this will even work well. So yeah, well, we'll see whether or not I wasted my whole morning, afternoon, maybe even day. course. Just rough wired everything just to see if it will work. Alright, and now is the moment of truth. Luckily, the wire's long enough so I can test it up in the front. Okay, so... if it works with the engine on and off. Oh, it does. Alright, cool. So, it does work even with an accessory mode. Finally. Okay. So, I guess that is the easy part. The hardest part is just routing this wire from front all the way to the back. I'm trying to figure out how we can route it from the center console to the back. So I thought it was gonna be a lot harder than it really was. So we have, plugged in here. I noticed there was actually a gap in the carpet. So route it through here, underneath this gap, unscrew up this speaker cover underneath it, and along the side. Oh, you can see a little bit right here. Gotta tuck that in better. But yeah, to the trunk, just like how I routed the dash cam. So the hard part that I thought, at least the part that I thought would be hard, seems to be alright. Now, part 2 of what I think is hard is how do I route this to underneath the car? I think maybe to use these hole cutouts here, but I'm not exactly sure where it leads out. So that leads to some investigation. And honestly, it's probably just another case of overestimating how hard it really is. Exposure. Okay. Most of the effort was actually trying to find what's a way to route it. But once we figure it out, the rest is pretty simple. I said the driver's side already. Just routing the valve control over here. And underneath the car, there's actually a grommet. So just drill a very tiny hole in there. Did have to depin these connectors. So there's the red, kind of like a clip. You just slide it to the side so then you can safely depin these wires. Route it through the grommet. Don't forget to put some silicone. I got some silicone sealant, so this way water doesn't get inside the car. Yeah, honestly, better safe than sorry in this car. So just gotta quickly do the other side now that I figure out how to do it. Hopefully it should be pretty easy. Alright, so I think everything's finally done. Alright. And the best part of this is unlike the old valve controller, the car doesn't actually need to be on because it intercepts the CAN signal from the exhaust button right here, and it has its own power supply because it's tapped in the fuse box in the rear. As long as like the car itself is on, like on accessory power and the engine's not on, it has power. I'm gonna test this out for a few days just to see whether or not I get the low power warning. I'm not sure if maybe I should move it to a fuse tap where it's ignition controlled, but that's for a future problem. But now, even with the car in accessory mode, engine's not on, you could still control the valve. I'm not sure you can hear it from here. So yeah, so the valve state will be will stay like that. I'm not sure whether or not it will stay on or off. For example, the old valve controller, if you kept it open, you turn off the car, the valve would stay open. So if you remote start the car next morning, it will be loud as hell. I'm not sure how this will react, but probably something similar along that line. But finally, this achieves my goal of being like quote-unquote OEM plus. I'm sure I'm not the only one. When we first saw this button right here, we thought it meant like, wow, it's gonna control the exhaust, right? The only thing to control the exhaust is the flaps. But turns out it just, with it off by OEM, it just closed the valves permanently. Even in M2 and like Sport Plus, it doesn't variably open, and burbles, as well as the pump-in fake audio. Yeah, I coded that off immediately. But oh no, it's raining. Of course, when I'm filming, it decides to rain. But all in all, the build quality, pretty good. Ease to install, also pretty good. Bad thing is, doesn't give you enough instructions. I had to like contact the seller, OEM motors or OE motors, however you call them. But overall, the build quality is pretty good. Price, reasonable. It was like around 300 something. So it's about the price of a valve controller, like the VSC valve controller, if you were to get it. A little bit more expensive, but shipping time, a week-ish. So not bad. Is it worth it? That is the ultimate question. Is it worth it? All the effort. Honestly, if you're comfortable routing wires, so like, you know, you've done dash cam routing for a fuse box in the back, you've done all that before. Like, this isn't that hard. Other than going underneath the car and like routing the wires through that grommet, the other hardest part was removing this trim, because there's two clips right here. That's like a pain to get out, and you know, it's a carbon trim. I don't want to like use too much force to destroy it. So that was probably like harder than like actually routing the wires. Once you figure out where to route the wires, the rest is easy. Plug and play, no issues. So hey, if y'all aren't afraid to give AliExpress car parts a try. I mean, this car is full of it. So we got the AliExpress Carbon, which, you know, supplies a lot of these suppliers out here in the US. Just saying. AliExpress valve controller. You know, couldn't be bad. If y'all just want something just easy to install, y'all don't want to be routing wires and stuff, VSC valve controller, probably the best bang for your buck. It's like a third of the price of like the Daler valve controller. Probably does the same thing, uses remote and everything. This one, don't use the remote anymore, so I don't need to carry like a separate remote in the car. I could just use this one right here. So not bad. So hopefully y'all enjoy this content. If you guys like me exploring other car parts from like, you know, AliExpress and all these and trying to find reputable parts, I don't know. I don't mind experimenting on my car as long as I think it's cool. Not too edgy, not too race cardy. I don't know. I feel like I might regret saying that. Yes. I'm powering down. Okay, so it's my cue to end the video. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Stick around. If you guys like what you see, you have any questions on where to purchase it, any install questions, if you guys ever intend to try the same thing out, comment down below or message me, DM me on Instagram, whatever you guys want. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.